In this video, we're going to test out BARD's ability to write us some pretty simple Python code. I'm going to ask it to do a couple things, and then we're going to open it up in Google Colab and see if it gets the job done. So in my prompt, I'm going to describe the use case that I want the Python to fulfill, and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to ask BARD, write me a Python script in a notebook that I can use in Google Colab that does an API request to a weather API, one of the open ones, and then brings in the data for the entire week's forecast and provides all of the information in a table in Python pandas that provides me with the temperature, humidity, chance of rain, and the air quality for the day. And so I'm interested to see if it's gonna do that. And what we're gonna do is see what the deal here is. Okay, cool. So this says, hey, here's a Python script in a notebook that you can use in Google Colab. So okay, so this is pushing to api.openWeatherMap. Okay, cool. And then it's going to grab the information. It's going to turn that into a data frame. It's going to print the data frame, or else it's going to say the API request failed. So I'm actually going to take this code, and one cool thing you could do right here is you can say a copy code, or you can say export to Colab. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'm going to open Colab, and then my code's just right there. Now, what I am going to have to do is I'm going to have to see about getting an API key to this site, but this should be pretty easy, so I'm going to go on that journey real quick and come right back. Okay, so I went and got my API key, and then I pasted that inside of the area where it asked. It was really easy to get it. This is like a free API thing, so I just put it in where it said your API key right there, and copied and pasted that in, ran this code. It's now asking for what city I would like the weather for, so I'm going to say Atlanta, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then let's see what we have. So at the end, let's see. So it says, what city would you like to get? Different key error, air quality. So I'm going to actually just see what happens if I comment that out and then try to run it again. Just see if that changes it. And it did. So what I think is probably going on is that the field for air quality index or air quality just wasn't called AQI anymore. That's maybe going off of some old information, but that was the only flaw, and all I had to do was comment out one line, the whole script worked. And if I wanted to get it to work, ultimately it could, I could just change that real quick and we'd be good to go. So that's awesome. That's pretty good right off the bat. So I'm going to ask it a couple of different questions. I'm going to say, like, hey, what other open APIs like this could you provide me with some scripts for? Just looking for some ideas. So what other open and free APIs could you provide me with some Python scripts for? Can you just give me a list of some of the APIs that you know of that you could provide some examples for? So we'll see what it gives. And then based off of what it gives me, I'm going to take one of them and think up a use case for it real fast and see what it will give me. So, okay. So open weather map, Google Maps, YouTube data API, Facebook graph API, Instagram, Pinterest, Reddit API, Stack Overflow API. So I'm going to ask it, are these actually free and open APIs that you have access to, or are they ones that you need an account for? Can you tell me some more information about some other APIs that maybe aren't social media related? And because I know that we're going to have to jump through a couple of additional hoops for that. And I am kind of judging its ability to grab that. So that's not super good. So book search, movie search, news API. Okay, news API. So I'll be like, hey, can you give me news API? And can you say, like, hey, can you give me news about happenings in Berlin? So I'm going to say, can you write me a script that uses this news API to perform some research on important happenings in Berlin, Germany. And can you have the Python script hit that API, make a request, and then gather some data, and then provide a table of the most important economic and banking news for today. So I kind of want to see what that does. I'm really curious because I gave it the context of what I want the query to be. Economic and banking news for today. And I'm curious what that does. So it's going to say, okay, here's the code, here's the API. It's going to require a key, but we can do that real quick, no problem. It's going to get this, and then it's going to say, hey, give me articles, and then say, only give me data for a string that contains business as a string. So that might work. And then it says, we're going to get the most important news by a sort of when it's been published. So it's going to give me like the most recent news. So let's go ahead and then open this. You can give me an example of the like when this information was published at, and it has dates that are from the 24th and the 26th. So it actually looks like it's from news from yesterday, moving back through the week. So that's pretty cool. So it actually has an output of what it thinks the script will look like. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can export to Colab. We're going to open that up. I'm going to close the other one out. Now I have this right here. I'm going to go to newsapi.org and I'm going to see if I can get into that. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to paste my API key here. I signed up real quick for free. They gave me an API key instantly. And then for them, we're going to go ahead and run this. Okay, so I just ran it and I got an error. And so let's see. This is key error source. Let's see. Interesting. If string contains business. So that's interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and say, let me take that out. Actually, let me go back on that. And I'm going to put a hashtag here. Go ahead and run that again. So it looks like what it's doing is it's kind of taking some of the information and it's making up kind of what it thinks a schema is. And so what I could do is I could feed this information back to BARD and say, hey, I got these errors. And so let me actually go back here, get that, run this again. And then I'm just going to go through here. And then I'm just going to tell BARD that I had got an error on this. So we'll see what it says to debug the code. I think that would be interesting to see. And ideally, this should be able to look through all sorts of Google stuff, right? And when it does, it goes through and it's giving me a new set of code. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy up to this point and copy and paste that into my script and see if that works. So ultimately that did not work even though I tried to work through this and comment some of this stuff out. So I'm going to count that code there as faulty, but I'm going to tell it ultimately like that none of that worked. So it's going to need to try a completely different method and change that around. So I'm going to give that feedback back to BARD and I'm going to say, hey, none of this code that you gave me worked. I got a ton of errors. Can you please give me an entirely new version that fixes any and all issues that might occur? And so we'll see what he gives for that. And it's not uncommon that with these language models that you might have them generating multiple pieces of code for you. Now we could probably find the error if we want, but I'm ultimately just testing to see how accurate the model is at providing a legitimate piece of code that actually works. So that one did not work either. And not to spin wheels on this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see how many tries it takes for me to get this because I think we're on our third. So what I found out after a little bit of research and digging through this and trying to provide the documentation for this API to BARD is that ultimately it was just conducting the request parameters in this string right here in completely the wrong way. So it just wasn't it just wasn't hitting the API in the correct manner. So with that being said, obviously I'm gonna go ahead at this point in time and write this off. But as you saw before, you can try to thrash with this. You can see what's up. You can ask it to explain its code and try to work through it. If you know a little bit about code, you could work this out simply. Some of what I'm experimenting with is trying to find like the perfect output of a large language model for some code. And on a simple task like this, I would ultimately expect this to be probably 100% accurate with a very short, simple task like this. But it is what it is. And if you hung out with me this long, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful, and have a good one.